Good day. It is Coffee Jolt with Johnny Cleveland here on the Fanatical Elves Network. Back in the confines of my loft studio area. No longer are we down in the office space. Just too hollow and noises and everything. So we're back up here. How's everybody doing on this Wednesday morning, June 19th? Juneteenth, it is a holiday, national holiday. We are recognizing the last day of slavery, slaves that were released down in Texas back in the late 1800s, and civil rights and all of that, justice. We are honoring that today on June 19th here. Welcome aboard here. We got a lot of news going on here in the world of sports here in Cleveland, around the globe. The Celtics won the NBA championship. We don't care. They'd be swept by LeBron and the Cavs back in 2016. Yeah, I was listening to stuff this morning on ESPN and trying to figure out where that Celtics team belongs. They're not even close to what those older Celtics teams were like back in the the early 80s, late 80s, Bird, McHale. I mean, come on. Anyway, the Celtics had an easy ride, got to beat teams like our Cleveland Cavaliers, injury prone. We're going to talk about some injuries that and the old sour grape JB Bickerstaff here in a minute. Anyway, yeah, Celtics then played an injured team that had the Pacers' best player injured. They also then played Dallas, and we all know they were all, hobbling. ESPN even was going on this whole thing about, they had the most 50-point wins, the most 40-point wins, the most 30-point wins this season, or in the history of the NBA. And I'm like, that's just silly. Who cares? NBA basketball during the regular season doesn't amount to jack. So, not really putting a lot of effort or time into thinking about how, the fact that they're beating teams by 40 or 50 points. Come on. All right, let me drink my coffee and wake up here. Actually, I've been up for a while, but I need a jolt, right? So, the news never ends here in Cleveland. Good news. A lot of variety of news, I'll say that. We'll start with the good news. And this morning, Akron Beacon Journal, and I didn't get the guy's name who writes for the Beacon Journal, but he has an article that came out. I'm looking it up here real quick, but he talked to Nick Chubb in an exclusive interview. I think Nick Chubb's doing a spiel up there in Akron where he's being recognized and working with kids. This author is Chris Esterling, the Akron Beacon Journal, and he sat down with Nick and asked him a bunch of questions about this, that, and the other thing. The thing that got a lot of people's attention was that Nick, when asked about his return to the Brownies this season, did not rule out a week one return. The quote at the end of the article basically said, I'll just read it here. He says, all right, get into it here. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. When asked if he could see himself back in week one against the Dallas Cowboys. After all, he goes on to say, I'm doing everything I can at this point, and I'm right up where I want to be. And when that time happens, when I feel great, I'll be on the field. So he's not saying no. I know a lot of us who like to analyze the team to death have our own theories about this, that, and the pup list and all of that. But it really comes down to the individual player and the team and what they think is best. And we really don't have a factor in any of this. We're just speculating all the time. But I am of the belief that I've said this for many, many, many years, months, whatever you want to look at it. Nick Chubb is just a different player. He's a different type of NFL player, and I wouldn't put anything by him. And I think the idea of him starting in week one is not out of the realm of possibilities. And even people that we follow, like Jack Duffin, who talks about the Brownies and writes them. He even predicted that he would play because of the money. He suggested, but I more so look at the fact that it's Nick Chubb, and he's a team player, and it's about the Cleveland Browns and him. And if he's ready to go in week 1, why the hell would you why not? What do you like? What are the Browns? You played the entire last year without Nick Chubb, and you were able to succeed. And you want to take care of Nick Chubb. You don't want him to get re-injured and all of that. Totally get that. It's June right now. The season doesn't start for 3 months? July, August. Yeah. So, let's just see. But it did catch some people's attention and mine this morning when he said he would not rule out a week 1 return. Cool. All right. Other bit of news. I have an article out for the Fanatical Elves and Fans First here, and also Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders, about Amari Cooper. Yeah. Well, Amari, again, there's an article that came out by Brad Stainbrook. Now, he writes for OBR, the Orange and Brown Report. Many of you might read some of that stuff. Brad's a pretty solid contributor, and he knows his stuff. And Brad actually came out with his article yesterday that said that he's hearing from sources in the Browns organization that they've only offered Cooper 1 year, and the money's not guaranteed. Now, there was an article that was a follow-up by several other, groups that follow the Brownies, like Dog Pound Daily, who I've written for in the past as well. I think, so they were their article was based on what Brad talked about. I know I've heard some different dialect here on our Fanatical Elves network, but actually the news of Amari Cooper and having the 1 year not having guaranteed money actually came from Brad Stainbrook of the OBR Report, not Dog Pound Daily. Is it fact? Is it rumor? We don't know. I'm taking Brad at his word. But if it's the case, and that the Brownies are not offering Cooper beyond the year, and that money that is being offered is not completely guaranteed, is completely idiotic and foolish and dumb on the Browns' part. I wrote about that. If you want to read my article for the Fanatical Elves, Fans First, and for Northeast Sports Insiders. Come on, Brownies. If that's the case, and I'm, taking Brad for what he's reporting here, you're just being foolish. You're being absolutely foolish. You guaranteed your quarterback, who hasn't played but half a season, $230 million, and now you're looking at an all-pro wide receiver, Amari Cooper, who's just turned 30, and you don't want to guarantee him any money, and you just want to give him 1 year. You guys are boneheaded. And if that's the truth, and that's what I kind of said, and I've said this for many years, and I know a lot of you love Steady Eddie and Andrew Berry, and I'm not saying I don't respect them, and I don't think that they're doing a fine job, but sometimes I wonder if they think that they're smarter than all of us, and if they did give, or just offering Cooper such a small contract, I'd be pissed if I was Coop. You'd be too. So the other rumor that's circulating out there is this NFL notifications. They've got like 40 or 50,000 followers on the X, and you've seen them before, and they've had some things that are true. Sometimes they're not. They're reporting yesterday that there is this idea that the 49ers, San Francisco, and the Brownies have been talking about swapping Brandon Ayuk, or their wide receiver, for Amari Cooper. There's no identifiable source. As was reported, it was an article written by Sports Illustrated, Browns Digest. So this kid who wrote the article for Sports Illustrated, he's also saying that it's speculation. But again, if all these things tie together, and if Coop was only offered a year and no guaranteed money, come on. And stranger things have happened. I would hate for the Browns to dismiss Cooper or get rid of him or trade him. I don't think that's going to happen. But stay tuned. You never know if you're a Cleveland fan, right? We need a big jolt of coffee this morning to get through all this. So, Cooper, is he on the trade block? Cooper, did he only get offered a 1-year contract? And Nick Chubb might be ready in week 1. So there you go. Let's pause for a quick break here on the Coffee Jolt with Johnny Cleveland, part of the Fanatical Elves and Fans First Sports Network. We'll be right back. Bam, we're back. Can't stop on the number 13. You know, I try to shift my sound quality. If I stop on 13, you know, 13's unlucky. I don't care for the number 13. If I'm watching TV, I don't stop on the number 13. You shouldn't either. It's bad luck. So don't do that. Okay, so I'm on 16 on the music. Hopefully it's not too loud for you. Welcome back here on the Coffee Jolt with Johnny Cleveland. And man, I'm full of energy this morning after drinking my coffee. And all this news about Chubb and Cooper. We haven't even talked about, and we're just gonna go over these a little bit. We'll have an article coming up here on King James Gospel for the Cavaliers with the story that's come out since 2 nights ago. JB Bickerstaff. Listen, if you listen to any of my podcasting, I hate JB Bickerstaff. I think he was a terrible coach for the Cavs. I don't know what he is personally. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but as far as it comes to coaching, he's a moron and an idiot. Never knew why the Cavs held on to him as long as they did. They should have fired him 2 years ago. So JB, after the Celtics win, he comes on some NBA podcast and starts talking about how he was really impressed with Luka Doncic, or their star player for the Mavs, and how he fought through this rib pain, this rib injury, and never complained. Now, Cleveland fans, Cavs fans, you all know what he's talking about. He's talking about Jared Allen. I know some of you are pissed off too. You don't agree with the fact that Jared Allen sat out and didn't play in some of these very crucial playoff games. But I can tell you from sources that I know very closely that this injury that Jared Allen had to his ribs was much more serious than is being discussed. And for Jared Allen to go out there and to take these ejections or whatever that Luka did, and some of these players do when they have this pain, you just don't understand the story. And for Sour Grapes, JB Bickerstaff, to go on the air and for diss on a younger player who's half his age, just totally disrespectful. Bickerstaff is an idiot. He's a moron. Is no respect. Listen, I've been around Jared Allen, not been around JB. I can tell you that Jared Allen is a wonderful kid, great personality, funny guy, parents, great parents, solid character guy. I can tell you that from experience. Now, I've never met JB, but I've met a lot of coaches like JB in my time. And let me tell you, JB is one of those coaches that he'll throw you under the bus. He doesn't care if you're a player that he used to coach, as long as he doesn't have to take responsibility for the fact that he was a pathetic coach when he was here with the Cavs. And to be quite honest, he's never been a very good coach wherever he's been. That's why I never thought he should have been the coach for so long with the Cavs. He had no success coming into the job. And sure, he built up relationships with these players, and I'm sure the players, as players, try to respect their coach. But there have been many other times where JB threw other players under the bus, and including Jared Allen in the past. There was a press conference, I don't know if it was this season or last season, I think it was last season, where basically JB was really critical of Jared Allen. And Jared Allen was asked about it after his coach had done his part of the interview. And it was separate interviews. And Jared Allen was basically saying, no, I don't agree with that. And I was glad that Jared spoke up and said something that he basically disagreed with his coach, because I'm sure behind closed doors and in those gyms, you know, if you've ever been coached, you know, sometimes there's a lot of stuff that goes on that you don't want getting out, because especially if you're a coach and you're a supposedly successful coach, because coaches are not very nice sometimes. And I can tell you for a fact that JB Bickerstaff was not a very good coach, a very nice guy sometimes. And you don't have to be a nice guy to be a coach. I get that. But there was a lot of conflicts with personalities on that Cavs team. And that, it's again why JB Bickerstaff should not have been coach for the last 2 years with the Cavs, and why, yes, they had success. And yes, some of you are going to say, oh, well, they won games. Yeah, they won games, but they were not a cohesive group. Okay. Talking about the Browns, on a different level here. I mean, give props to Kevin Stefanski, Steady Eddie, and Andrew Berry. I think contrary to what the Cavs were doing with JB, I think what they're doing here in Cleveland with the Brownies and with somebody like Kevin Stefanski, who's a knowledgeable, understandable kind of guy that tries to relate to his players and not throw them under the bus all the time, unless it's warranted. And there have been a few times where Kevin has had to come out publicly and say some things about certain players. The Browns are in a lot better position coaching-wise than the Cavs are. Now, hopefully the Cavs can bring in somebody that's more of a personable kind of guy and will connect with the players better, and it won't be so tense between the groups, because I know for a fact that there was a lot of tension that was going on within that group from the sources that I'm close to that are with the Cavs. So beyond that, folks, well, hey, one other thing I do want to give just a shout out to Willie Mays. Willie Mays died yesterday. He was 93 years old. Those of you who are big baseball fans, Willie Mays was one of the greatest, if not the greatest baseball player of all time. Listening to some different takes on Willie this morning on ESPN and some of the other sports shows, and he was just phenomenal. Great career, started in 1951, had over 660 home runs in his career, batted a career average over 300, had 300 stolen bases. He was just everything to everybody. Listening to some people's takes, Reggie Jackson, who used to play for the Yankees, described him as basically being the best of everybody. He was like watching LeBron or Steph Curry or Michael Jordan. Just a fantastic, all-around great athlete. And when he came into the game, it just kind of changed everything about how you looked at the game. In 1954, the New York Giants played the Cleveland Indians in that World Series. Unfortunately, the Indians got swept in 4 games, and it started in that game 1 when Willie Mays made that basket catch, that black and white photo, or the video you probably see of him making that basket catch, turning and throwing out the guy or not letting him score. The Giants went on to sweep the Indians that year, and the Indians had won like 111 games that year in 54. They were so dominating. They had just beaten the New York Yankees to win the American League pennant and had to play the New York Giants, who hadn't moved out to San Francisco yet. So just an amazing career. We will miss Willie Mays. Just what an iconic name. If you're a baseball fan, this is a guy that and if you're a younger fan and you don't know a lot about Willie Mays and you love baseball, go tune in and go watch some highlights and read some stats, man. Some really good stuff. All right, folks, I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday morning, June 19th, here on the Coffee Jolt with Johnny Cleveland. Thanks again for tuning in. Please download us on Apple, on Spotify. We're going to be having our Fanatical Elves shows coming up tomorrow night. I think we're going to be giving away more stuff. So if you follow us in the Fanatical Elves, make sure that you are following us, hitting that subscribe button, and reposting all of our stuff on social media. Guys, have a great rest of your day. Go Browns!